Everybody. I wanted to jump on here really quickly and just tell you about today's episode that you're going to be watching because you might think we've already covered the substance. We absolutely had an interview already about the substance and the work on the substance. We've seen the film win an Oscar. The hair and makeup team won the Oscar and the BAFTA for their amazing work on this film. But if you noticed for the Oscar, there was someone missing from the podium when the award was accepted that was at the BAFTA Awards. So that person was the artist Frédérique Aguello. And I just wanted to look further into it and see, because I've always wondered about the four names versus three names, how they pick the names. And so I asked Frédérique to come on the show and explain a little bit to me about what happened this year with that particular scenario. And she had a lot to say about explaining how the whole process worked for her this time. And I really, really, really thought it was important to bring that story to you all because it's kind of interesting and sort of one of those stories that makes you go, interesting. What happened here? So we are going to listen to Frederique's side of things today. And I thought that it was a very interesting way that everything happened. And possibly you all will too. I also wanted to add a little bit that part of the conversation happens after she talks about her work. So that part of the conversation about the logistics of the Oscars, the submission of the names, that all comes in the second half of the interview. In the first half, we talk about obviously her work and inspiration and some of the things that we haven't talked about on here, like why the coat was yellow. I wanted to ask someone who was on set themselves about the coat being yellow, and the answer is quite interesting. You may already know it, but I didn't. So, and then after our interview, Fred sent over some images that I wanted to include, but I wanted to just put them in the front here because I didn't want to stop the interview and insert them, but it was an afterthought after the interview had already commenced. So I just wanted to mention that for Margaret Qualley's look, the inspiration was folktale and the Raphaelite movement for the hair story and the storytelling with her beautiful, long, voluptuous hair. And also, she also wanted to make a point that Brigitte Bardot was, of course, an inspiration. Always isn't Brigitte Bardot always an inspiration? It's on everybody's wall. But in this case, I can really see the inspiration played out in Margaret Qualley's hair. So I just wanted to let you in on that because a couple of times we just changed the subject to Demi or something like that, and I forgot to get back to the inspiration for Margaret's hair. So enjoy the interview. There's a lot to be learned and heard in this interview. I won't say much else, and we'll listen to Fred's story. Okay. Hello, I am with Frederique, and we are talking about the substance today. And Fred, would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners and the position that you had on the substance?
Yes, of course. Hello, Tiffany.
Hi.
It's a pleasure being here with you. Really.
This is such a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
I've been wanting to speak to you ever since I saw the film. And, that was in October and it's had such a huge impact. And so I'm so anxious to speak to you about all of your award-winning work. So why don't you let me know the position that you had on the film.
So I was the hair designer.
Mm-hmm.
Stéphanie Guillon is the makeup
Mm-hmm.
designer, and Pierre-Olivier Persin is the SFX designer.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And then how did you in France remind me, do you join a union as makeup and hair or do
No,
you I'm just curious. No.
no,
Okay.
actually,
Specific.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it's very interesting. It's a very good question because in France, we do not have a union
Uh-huh.
for our
Right.
jobs. And this is why maybe sometimes we have little problems,
Uh-huh.
okay,
Uh-huh.
as
Mm-hmm.
far as credits go. Um, um, so um, we're working on it. Some people are working on it right now, but it's not as you have it in the US or even in England, I'm sure, but
Right.
it's causing problems a lot of times.
So it's different than England as well.
I think so. I think
Okay.
in England they do have a union. It's
Hmm.
more a pyramidal thing in England and also in the US, because I have worked in the US
Hmm.
and I have worked with American teams, and it's a more like a pyramidal thing where you respect, you just respect the person who's on the top, and she has her makeup and sometimes her hair team, and
Hmm.
there's different ways of working around it. But in France, you only do hair or you
Wow.
only do makeup.
Okay. Okay. That's how it is here too. Okay. So and who assigns that when you sign up, you apply as that or they assign you as that? The
What do you mean?
production. The
Oh,
production assigns you that title.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Actually, on the credit on the substance, I got key hair,
Yeah.
which
Okay.
is which I spoke to some people in the U.S. and they said that key hair is not really the head of department of hair.
Right.
I should have had,
I
okay, or
see.
the hair designer. So this is a mistake, which
I understand. Okay. So and you didn't notice this mistake until the credits rolled?
right, right.
Oh,
Nobody
okay.
ever asked me or anything. Yeah, I just saw it as I saw the movie at the end. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Oh, wow.
And
That's very,
this is why there's like actually five or six key hair on the
that's
credit.
very interesting. Okay. 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 So now, so for the substance, who was on the team? On your hair team?
Okay, on my hair team, it was a very small team. It was myself as the hair designer and the key designer on set, because I'm not only the designer, I worked on set
Mm-hmm.
all the time. And there was Marilyn Scarcelli,
Mm-hmm.
who she started out as my assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I had to leave actually the movie 5 months, 5.5 months after I started. There was only a month left, so she took over
Got it.
the continuity which I had put in place. Yes, I had a family problems. Actually, my father passed away,
Oh,
so
I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
unfortunately, when it happens when you're working on the movie, it's
Of
terrible.
course. Of
So
course.
working so hard on the movie, you don't get a chance to see your family, and so that was
Yeah.
devastating for me. So I did leave the movie a few weeks before the end,
But
but
the looks had already been set and you
yeah,
had already, yes. So your assistant then maintained the
yeah,
looks. Got
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay.
She just maintained everything I did, the looks, and also the continuity from the sequence we had already done months before, and we were, shooting the sequence after that, a few months afterwards. So um, everything was done. Okay.
Ah, understood. Yes, that's what I understood to be the case when I spoke to Marlon. Marilyn,
Yeah.
I have the worst accent ever. Oh my God. But I did speak to her maybe the day before the Oscars, and she let me know there were some things that I was dying to speak to you about after I spoke with her, because I think she mentioned that she was on set that day that Demi was doing my very favorite scene, but she did not do the hair that day of when
No,
she is
no.
wiping I wanted to ask you about what it was like on set that day when she was doing my very favorite scene of get preparing for the date, which nearly broke me. It was amazing. It was so good. What
Actually, when she did that scene, I knew it was going to be just a a scene that people would remember forever.
Yeah.
You know,
You knew, you knew.
I knew it. I knew it. I even told her. I said, "Oh my God, that was so good." Yeah, and So how was it? Well, it was very intense, as you can imagine, but the whole movie was very intense.
Sure. Yes. Tell me what the days were like on this
Yeah, it
amazing
was very
project.
intense. It was very, but at the same time, so fun,
Yeah.
intense fun, serious at the same time,
Hmm.
because it was a small crew.
Yeah.
So
To be clear, did Demi and Margaret have personals or did you do,
no,
yeah.
no,
Okay. Good. Okay.
no, no.
Um, okay, so when you were designing these looks for these two women, what were you keeping in mind about the differences between the two? What would represent youth to you in the looks that you designed?
Uh, okay, so that's an interesting question. Actually, when I first read the script, I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
The script, I just couldn't let drop it. I was like, I've been in the business for like 30 years, and it's really the first time I read a script, and I just wanted to do this movie. I wanted to do this movie.
And did it arrive, the script arrive to you through your agency or did you know somebody on production?
No, I knew somebody in production. The
Okay.
first assistant actually spoke to Coralie about me. We had just done a movie right before that. And then I spoke to Coralie on the Zoom, just like we're doing right now,
Hmm.
and it clicked. We really had the same idea about what we wanted to. Well, we just felt it.
Yeah.
We felt it. I also told her that I had lived in Los Angeles when I was young, when I was a teenager. So she kind of liked that for some
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
And anyway, going back to the script, when I read it, I just thought it was just so intense. Um, for me as a woman, the age I have, I
Mhm.
understood that so well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not only that, I just thought it was just so graphic in my head. I
You
saw,
could see everything.
I could
Hmm.
see everything, and there's not too many words in this movie. It's a
Yeah.
lot of images.
Hmm.
So I just saw them, and I just went, "Oh wow!" And as I was reading it, and by the end, you're like, "Oh my
I know it's crazy. But having lived in LA, you could bring that the thirst for youth to that I mean in LA and New York, it's just, those are the two places where people are chasing youth so feverishly. Is that culture the same in France? Do you see it there as well?
It's the same because
Hmm.
actually we follow you.
Got it.
We follow what you do,
Got it.
but it's less,
Yeah, yeah, of
a
course.
little
Less
bit less.
less pressure and less probably monetary value on youth, maybe. Um, you know,
I
uh,
tell you, I think
from
it's like this everywhere, unfortunately.
I know it really is.
Unfortunately, but hopefully it might change, go back to something more. I don't
I'm
know.
hopeful. I'm hopeful.
Well, I'm
I'm
just
hopeful.
because maybe I knew a generation where it wasn't as so important. So
Yeah.
maybe I hope it's gonna, but maybe not. Who knows what's gonna
Yeah.
happen in the next future?
Right. And so how did you develop the looks for Margaret for who she was going to be with Stephanie? And how did that work
And
with
Demi, yeah. So first of all, for Demi, she has lovely hair. Okay, long hair or long black hair was just so perfect for the movie
yeah.
because I saw images, I saw graphic images. I knew there was going to be a lot of takes in the white bathroom with
Yes.
tiles in the bathroom, and I just told myself we have to keep her hair long and black,
Hmm. Hmm.
especially to cover her body. And at first, Demi wasn't really too sure about keeping her hair that long,
Oh,
which I can understand. She wanted to change, she
right.
wanted to have bangs, and
Every
maybe
woman wants bangs. I just know. Nature's Botox, yes.
She wanted to have bangs, maybe a little layered, cut,
Right.
and I was like, oh, I was in between her and Coralie, who agreed with me that we needed to keep that hair long. It would be so dramatic.
So
It had
severe, yeah.
to be severe and dramatic, when she falls on the floor, and there's a lot of movement in this movie when they're fighting.
Yes.
Hair, it just flows. It flows. It had to, So finally, she agreed upon keeping her hair like this, like the way it is,
Yay.
and I'm glad
Yeah.
we did. I'm very glad we did. And on
Yes.
top of this, there was so much work as far as prosthetics went, and also there was a lot of close-ups. So if we had put a bang, it would be a fake bang, fringe. It would be all fake, and it would be just too much problems, because especially when she's like in the bathroom, the
Yeah.
light is very harsh. There's a lot of close-ups, so and we didn't have time
Right.
to just come back and do touch-ups, and even though we still are very uh, it's very you always have to look at the hair continuity,
Yeah.
because even if it's moving and you feel like you're not doing anything, it's actually the the worst thing as a hairstylist, because the hair moves all the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
So from an image to another image, you have to really be careful where the piece of hair is here and not in back. And it seems easy, but actually it's the hardest thing to do.
And I'm sure. And was her hair all natural throughout the production?
Uh, no, actually, you mean natural? You mean as far as
Her own hair.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She's got great hair. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I just styled it differently as she's aging. At first she's got beautiful, shiny, long black hair, healthy looking, and then as she's aging, her hair gets brittle. It gets kind of fuzzy, and
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then we get to that stage where she loses it from long to the wig part, the gray wig.
Yeah. And when it had to go into caps and into prosthetics, did she cut her hair or did you lay it in under
No,
there? Yeah.
no, no. We had to
Oh,
flatten it, just like
yeah.
what you would do, like a wrap,
Okay.
you know,
Yep.
just like a wrap. And you have to go slow. You just have to do like a few braids and just wrap it around your head, and then put the wig on, and then
Hmm.
at the gloom stage, then just a braid in the back, following the neck and the back. Put aloe vera and just put like a few pins and make it
Ugh.
really flat, and then you have to put a cap on it, and that's it.
At the Gollum stage,
That's
yeah, that's what you called that. And
yeah.
then is Gollum stage when she curls the one hair, which is
No, actually, it's Elizabeth that curls her hair when she goes out. On
yes. Okay, yes, 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 yes.
That's
It's
the
been a
funny
minute.
part.
Yeah.
I remember the. I remember what you call the girl that does the prop.
Jamie.
She was like asking me what kind of iron should I get?
The prop girl.
Yeah, because she's the one who bought the
Yes, of
iron.
course, of course, of course.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my God. Yes, and for Margaret's youthful hair, you just had to make sure that it was bouncy and full and hydrated
Oh,
and
so with
youthful.
Margaret, it was yeah, it was. So it's all fake. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
and
did not look fake at all.
oh, I'm very proud
Wow.
of.
Yes, yes. How did you do it?
Actually, her hair length was about bob length, maybe a
Uh-huh.
little bit longer than a bob, and she's got very curly hair,
Yeah,
beautiful but
she
curly.
does.
Okay,
Yeah.
and Coralie wanted her hair to be very long, very healthy looking, very feminine looking, because we wanted, this woman to just be like a
Yeah.
gorgeous body, gorgeous hair, gorgeous everything. So um, at first they were asking me about maybe getting a wig for her.
Okay.
And I thought that a wig wouldn't do it because, again, there's a lot of movement in the movie.
Mhm.
Uh, she's fighting.
Mhm.
She when she comes out of Demi, she's got wet hair, so a wig wouldn't fit.
Oh
I don't
my
know if you
God.
remember.
Yeah.
So I proposed to use hair pieces. Okay, like about 30 hair pieces, so
Extensions.
extensions,
Mhm.
which I would remove every night. And
30.
yeah, 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 because she wasn't. It was kind of heavy because there was a lot of hair.
Yeah.
So we wanted her to feel comfortable. So we were adding her those hair pieces and removing it every night. So we had to, well, every day I had to blow dry her hair, straighten her hair, and then add the hair pieces at different places
Oh my gosh.
depending on what sequence we were doing.
Right. Of course, because it changed so drastically.
Right, because sometimes the sequence, sometimes we had wet hair, so we had to add
Oh
on
my
wet hair.
God.
We had to put gel on the hair to make it look wet,
Mhm.
and
Ugh.
then
Yuck.
once we put the pieces on, I had to style it again.
Right,
It
right.
looked really natural and floating around the apartment when she was moving. It had to bounce and look really healthy.
Yeah.
And with the wig, I don't think it would have looked as natural.
Right. And what was more budgetary, the wig or the extensions? Was it a big difference in money?
No, actually, we had a low budget for hair, and
Imagine that. Imagine that.
but I think that it was actually I worked on the hair pieces myself.
Right.
I dyed them, I sewed them myself,
Mhm.
and
Wow.
so it wasn't at the end. It wasn't that expensive for the production.
Yeah, and they were your own and you treated them and uh-huh. You're like, "Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I saved you guys a lot of money."
I did. I did.
You have to
But
send that invoice over.
but at the same time, I really thought it was the best thing to do for what we wanted
Yes, yeah.
in the image.
Yes,
Yeah.
you make those decisions for the good of the film and it definitely paid off. So, but in the end was Margaret comfortable or was it awful? Was it I know she
Actually,
didn't complain, but like it had to
no,
have
she
been.
never complained. They both never complained. They were
Oh,
just,
wow.
and no, at first, maybe the first day, the first tryouts, it was gorgeous, but maybe it was a little too heavy, so I removed a
Got it.
few, and we
Ah,
got to a point where it was fine.
okay. That's very kind of you.
But at first, it was like, oh, this is heavy. But we got to, after a day or two, we finally got it. Yeah.
Can you tell me how she came out? Like, I've seen it, of course, in the BTS and everything, but how was that for you the first time you saw her come out of the body? That's obviously a prosthetic body. It's not to me.
Mhm.
But, what did you have to keep in mind? That's when you used all the gel and
Exactly. Yeah.
okay, okay. And that was on those extensions. So you had to maintain the extensions and then treat them as if she's coming. Okay.
Right. And as the hair was wet with all that gel, I
Right.
always had to be careful that you wouldn't see that there were extensions.
Yeah, yeah,
You really
yeah.
have to make sure that you don't see
Oh,
the extensions,
stressful.
especially when the camera is right here.
Yes, yes. And then you can't say, "Oh, can I just step in really quickly? I know you're creating."
Sometimes you do, but most of the time you
You
don't.
want to avoid that.
If
Yep.
you're behind the camera, you're just like this.
Yeah. Yeah, not breathing. What was the most challenging day for you? What was the day where you were going like this the most?
Wow, the most challenging day, I think, was when she
I
fights
bet.
with Demi.
Hmm. How many
Because
days was that? One day?
no, I think we did it
Yeah.
on 2 days, I
Okay.
think, because she gets blood,
Mhm.
as she's hitting her. There's blood.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember. There's a lot of blood.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there's blood, and then so sometimes we had to go back to the beginning of the sequence. So I had to really remove the blood, uh, um, dry it,
Yeah.
and but all this really fast, like in 6 minutes. You know.
Unbelievable. I was speaking to the team behind Nosferatu, and they said that was the most challenging for them too. The buckets of blood, and then having to you have to maintain these expensive pieces of hair, and
Right,
oh,
right.
oh my God. So you had
And
to wash them and then put them six
oh yeah,
minutes.
you have to wash them, but the what is the hardest thing to do is that you have to reuse them like right away, like in the next 5 6 minutes. So that's when you really have to be really fast about what you're
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And what was the most satisfying day for you where you were like, "Oh, we nailed that. That's exactly what I envisioned." And there it is.
I think it's on the tryouts. I think we had
Mhm.
2 days of tryouts where that's when you really that's when the clothes designer
Mhm.
Emmanuel, which did she did a great job
Amazing.
also, because there's
Amazing.
just little pieces, but everybody just remembers that yellow coat.
I mean,
Everybody remembers that leotard.
yeah, yeah.
Everybody, and that's really special when you just remember like just one clothes, one piece of clothes, one
Right.
piece of clothing.
When the yellow coat was discovered and you all were on set, now that yellow coat means something to everybody, every woman. And everybody has an interpretation. And I've always wanted to ask someone who was there, what did that mean to Demi, to the whole project? What were you saying by
The
using that
yellow
yellow coat?
coat, I think, from what I heard, I don't know if it's Coralie Farja's idea or if
Hmm.
it's Emmanuel's idea, but I think it reminds us of the egg in the beginning, the
Hmm.
two yellow egg yolk. I
Yes,
don't know if you remember. There's
of
like a
course.
two egg yolk, and there's a needle that grabs.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes, yes, yes, yes. Okay, thank
there's a
you.
lot of there's a lot of symbolism in this movie, actually.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah.
yeah, amazing symbolism. Here we are. We have completed the film and comes out. It's an overwhelming success. And I asked you earlier if you knew it would be a success, and you said
Yeah,
you did. Yeah.
yeah,
And
I did.
and how did you know that people would respond to this body horror and all of these gross things?
Actually, first of all, when I read it, I thought it was great,
Yeah.
and I knew we were doing. Like when you're doing something and it will stay in time, it's going to be a cult movie. It's
Yeah.
really, I felt it. I knew it was going to be a cult movie because I think it's an inverted fairy tale,
Yes.
for adults, just like we're like grown up children
Hmm.
and children. We read fairy tales to children because to protect them from what happens in society, to protect them from danger, and
Hmm.
sometimes it's kind of spooky.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's scary,
Hmm.
and it's like a fairy tale for adults. Actually, that's how I see it.
Yeah, like a Grimm's fairy tale. Yes,
And
yes,
there's a
fable.
moral, and
Hmm.
there's a moral at the end.
100%. Hmm.
It reminds me a lot of all those fairy tales. What women inflict to themselves or to each other.
To each
Usually,
other.
I don't know if
Hmm.
you noticed, but sometimes in fairy tales, it's not the men that are mean to women. It's
No.
women against women.
Snow White. Yeah. Like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
Cinderella. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
uh, Rapunzel. Do you say
Yeah.
Rapunzel?
Rapunzel.
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 Uh, usually,
True.
uh, well, I made the connection. I thought it was exactly the same. You know,
Yes. Yes.
it's
Yes. Absolutely.
always like the youth.
Yeah.
Not the youth against the the woman that's aged, but it's usually the aged woman that's very jealous of the young one, you know. And
Hmm.
always, I don't know. I don't know why fairy tales are like that. Always depicting women, you know, like being jealous of each other. Maybe
Yeah.
it's true, you know.
I
I know.
mean, it's if the fairy tale definitely continued when Demi lost the Oscar to a
Yeah, yeah,
much younger woman
yeah,
play, who, also exposed much of her body, both women exposed themselves completely, right?
yeah.
Demi and Mickey. And, the younger bot, I mean, that's just my take. The one body, was rewarded. But anyway, I think honestly, once Demi can like get distance, I don't know how she feels, of course, about that loss, but like the symbolism of that loss was greater than the win almost. You know what I mean? That lesson. Um,
Yes, it says a
and
lot. It says a lot.
yeah.
Because the symbolism continues after the movie. You know?
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. And after the movie, your award nominations came rolling in. You were nominated and won the BAFTA. And the film won the Oscar for Best Hair and Makeup. I was curious about the process of that submission process of the two prestigious awards because I see that in one, there were four people that were able to be listed. And then the Oscars, there are three names that are able to be
Yeah.
listed. And I've seen this dilemma before with Elvis, the film Elvis. And so I was curious to talk to you about that because, again, for Elvis, there were four names for the BAFTA and then three. So what happens to that fourth name, which in this case was yours?
Yes.
Yeah, I did not go unnoticed. Um, so I wanted to ask you candidly about that process and if you could explain it to me.
Actually, I was very surprised about what was happening because
Sure.
um, I wasn't expecting this because uh, from September to December, I was the American distributor was
Mubi.
sending me emails with Stephanie and Pop as were getting awards, and there was only the three of us, you know, the main people. Hair.
Stephanie,
Stephanie is the makeup girl.
yes, and you were on the emails and
Yeah, Stephanie, makeup designer,
yep,
hair designer, myself, and Pop, SFX designer.
prosthetics, yes.
So far, so good. You know, I was very happy. We were receiving a lot of awards, and then on December, the producer, French producer, said, "Oh, great! You have to send a portrait because we want the long lists as far as
Right, the long lists,
yeah."
yes, which are
So
very exciting because
I was very
now they're
happy.
published. Yeah.
Okay, uh, and then there's a short list that comes out in January 23rd. So I was just sitting in front of my TV. I was just, you know, waiting, you know, all excited about, you know, if
The
we were.
actual nominations.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I saw it on TV. And I saw the name of Marilyn, my assistant, instead of mine.
For the
Yeah,
Oscar.
for the Oscar. And that was,
Mhm.
yeah, it was a little shock.
Of course. Of course. So, and you spoke earlier of being on the cast list in the credits and finding out when you saw the film
Yeah,
about the
that,
key makeup.
yeah,
Yes. And you did not know that that was your title until the credits rolled.
Right, right.
So something had gotten lost in translation.
Well, yeah, exactly. And actually, I didn't know she was, I filled out a submission for the Oscar, but I didn't know I was competing with my assistant. Okay, she
I
did too.
see.
But I didn't know she was filing out one. So
So
that,
the three of you who were on all the emails filled out the application,
yeah,
mailed it back in, just like you had been doing.
just like, it's confidential. You're supposed to do it at home on your own.
Yep.
Just like what I explained to you, what I did on both actresses,
Yep.
because not only did I design, but I worked on sets all the time.
Yep.
Okay, and Marilyn was my assistant. She was just curling some hair pieces. She also worked. I put the wig 2 days. She put the wig on 2 days, but we did exactly the same thing because I was working on Margaret the same days. As far as the wig went, I designed the wig also with Guylaine Tortoro, which is a wig maker in France. She has a shop that's called Perruque. I want to talk about her because she's really good.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
yeah,
Wonderful.
and what Marilyn did is just like just a braid in the back, with the prosthetic team, because there was like about
Yes.
6 of them, and Marilyn just doing a braid.
Yes,
Okay?
she explained that. I remember her telling me about that.
And then
Yes.
I left like three weeks early, unfortunately, when my father died. And then we had the same credit, the same title on the credit, because she became a key hair while I was gone.
So you didn't know she sent in a submission for the
She sent
Oscar?
in a submission. The production probably gave her the right to send a submission, and she did. But I didn't know about this.
I
So I
see.
didn't know I was competing with Marilyn. And when you fill out a submission, nobody sees it. You write whatever you want. Okay, so that's interesting. So I don't know. Then there was a portfolio done. I wasn't asked to give some pictures. She was taking the pictures while I was doing the work. She had everything in her iPad. So I really don't know what happened at one point.
Oh no.
But anyway, it's not the Academy. I think they have been misguided by who did what, and on. That's all I gotta say for now. But it's really yeah, it was a little shock.
Crushing.
It's not like we were both like, from the beginning, we had our own actress, and we both worked on,
Yeah.
now that's not what happened.
Okay.
So
So is there any way that I mean, like, I want to see that document. Like, is there any way that not subpoena, but is there any way that anybody has a right to see the submissions and evaluate them? You don't know.
I don't know yet.
So tell me the timeline. So you went and all of you won the BAFTA.
Yeah, all of us won the BAFTAs because actually the producer told me, well, Marianne called me. She wanted to get also some awards. And I said, okay, fine. She can come to the BAFTA. Little did I know she was also going to, take the Oscar.
I don't mean to laugh, but that was very generous of you to be like,
I'm laughing about it too now, because
thank God. Yeah, you have to. You have to.
Yeah, you have to.
So at the BAFTAs, did you know when you were all standing up there, had you known that she was one of, oh my God.
Yes. I knew about it since January 23rd when it came out. So, I spoke to production. I sent mails. They sent a letter to the Academy.
Okay.
But then I think, it was just too late, because the names were out, and I don't know if the Academy really understood, because it was a little mess, And me, I didn't want to be involved in making a scandal back then.
Of
because
course. Well, look what happened to Emilia Perez. Like, you can't these days. You can't have rock the boat at all until it's all over because you can lose you can give the whole
right,
project a
I
bad.
didn't want them to blame me for losing the
Yeah.
like. What if
Yeah.
it had, Demi lost it,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I lost it. If I had spoken about it at that
Yeah.
time, they would have said maybe it was your fault. No,
Yes. And
I spoke about it like 2 days before the ceremony. I just put a little post on my Instagram, but it wasn't mean. It was just, I
no,
just,
but you knew people were going to be looking, and so you wanted to have something
said,
there.
I just want a little, a little help. Like, can you? Well, I don't know what's happening, but it wasn't mean or anything.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then
No,
it
no, no, no,
became,
no.
it
I don't
became
think anything that you're saying sounds like sour grape. Do you know what I mean by sour grapes?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
nothing that you're saying sounds like what we were talking about earlier, like jealous or anything like this. It's not out of an angry place.
No, no, and believe me, it's a tough one to,
Yes.
no, it's really a tough one to deal with because an Oscar to me is it's an institution which
Yes,
I
yes.
fully just admire ever since I was a little girl. To me,
Yeah.
it's all those great actresses and all those great directors, and I never thought I would get an Oscar one day because we do not have awards in France for hair and makeup.
Yes. Of
Well,
course.
maybe next, not next week, but next year. Maybe next year they're working on it. But so to me, I was like, I never did this job to get an award. So especially after working for 30 years in this business, it would have been nice to just get a recognition, and so that hurts
Well,
more than anything else, I think.
and more than that, you won it. It was won, but you don't get to hold it. And it's not in
Yeah.
the history books. That is really brutal. I really, really, really feel for you about that.
Yeah, I think it's the word. I think it's the word because, and I think I dealt with it pretty good, but
Yeah.
because really, when this happens to you, it's like
And just that it was you didn't have any say in the decision making. That's the part that doesn't sit well with me. Like it was not like a discussion. It was just presented to you as this is what it
found
is.
out yeah. I never knew she was filling out. I never knew that.
Yeah.
It was done behind my back. I didn't know.
Ay,
I,
ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay.
but
Yes. And
but
and
I'm
so
not blaming. I'm not blaming the academy. That
no, but I have
I'm sure
I
people
hold yes, I know you aren't at all, but have always seen a problem with this category in particular in that you have to limit so strictly the number of people whose names. I don't understand why the BAFTA gets 4, the Oscar gets 3. I feel like of the two of them, they should be even, or there should be some more clear guidelines about
Well,
one.
actually, they're pretty clear because I
Oh, are
read.
they?
I read now a little bit too late. I read the rules, and there's
Yeah.
only 3 people, which is okay when you know about it, because
Yeah.
you have hair, makeup, the principal person, who did the styling, who did the
Yeah.
design, and on top of this, who was on set. Like,
Yes.
like it's not like I just designed and I left. I
No.
left.
Yeah.
So at the BAFTAs, they're very generous
Hmm.
for what Marilyn did. It was great. She had a BAFTA. Okay, she for the first 3-4 months, she was just doing what I asked her to do, and then the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, let's just put it this way, 4 weeks, okay, to make sure. Um, uh, then it's good. It's fine, but. So it's okay if you know about it and if you know what's happening.
Exactly. Yeah. You could have like had a conversation about
Yeah.
it and like
You
come
said,
to
wait,
terms with it before it
what
was.
are you doing? No, 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 no.
No,
That's not the way it worked.
no.
This is what I did. I have the picture. I have
Hmm.
the call sheets. I have
Hmm.
my contracts. I have a lot of documents.
Yes. Yes. You have all that. And I didn't like, now that I found out about this, I didn't like that there was no like nod to you that who
Yeah,
brought this person onto the job. So
yeah,
uh
yeah.
that's
That was.
yeah, because there's two opportunities. There's an opportunity to say something on stage,
I'm
and there's an
present
opportunity
tonight.
to
Yeah,
say something in the
yeah,
press room, and then there's an opportunity to say something in a private call or a private,
yeah, yeah.
conversation. So there's been no correspondence.
Yeah, and on top of this, well, it's been kind of nasty, but
I can imagine.
so, but I try to stay, calm about it, and hopefully the truth will come out.
Yes, I mean,
I always,
it
I
has
believe
to.
in the truth. I believe in the truth,
Yeah.
no matter how long it takes. But I do, and you know, there's not a thing much I can say.
No, but other people can say it for you. So, I think that this is, I'm really glad that you're telling your story. A lot of people would say, like, I don't want people, they would overanalyze how that would be received. But you presenting the facts and telling us exactly what happened, I mean, I'm making my own evaluation of the situation, and it just does not seem right and seems like something that you should fight. And, I think it's really important too, because possibly this could
It is,
change things for other artists as well.
it is important to me.
Yeah.
It's not for the statuette. It's not for the Oscar. It's just for my honor. It's as simple as that.
I just can't believe that the two Oscars that this movie was nominated for, that there's two stories like this. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so crazy. Like, I picture you just like in the substance watching, watching that all unfold the way to me.
Exactly. It's like if I didn't open my mouth, which I did really like a few days before the ceremony where the votes had been done. So
Yeah.
it's not like I influenced
Yeah,
anybody.
yeah, 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 exactly.
I would be just like, eating in front of my TV, just like Elizabeth.
Yes, yes, yes.
No? Yeah, and being like Elizabeth, with the monster, like trying to scream in her back, like,
Yes, yes,
I'm here, I'm here. No,
yes, yes, yes.
well, I don't know if this happened before, but anyway, it's kind of, well, that's the way it is for now. Okay.
Yeah. I don't
Thank
think
you.
I've ever heard a tale where it was a surprise like this. I have heard that there's been a
Yeah,
conversation before, and then it's like, okay, I'm just gonna
I'll
surrender
let
and
you
give it
go.
up. Yeah, yeah, go ahead. You take what you
This is
want.
what happened actually with Emilia Perez because I know all of them.
Uh-huh.
I know the crew because they're all French, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't know each other.
I spoke with
And
Julia. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, she's lovely. And,
Lovely.
yeah, and this is what happened with
Mm.
Julia. She said there was a designer, Romain, which was
Okay.
okay. He went to the BAFTAs, and then they had it because there was Romain only did the design, but he wasn't on set.
Got it.
So she said, "Hey, I think the hairstylist should go to the Oscar," and then they agreed upon it.
Yeah, exactly.
They
Yeah.
were very clear.
That seems normal to me. Yeah. I'm very sorry about. I
Well,
really
thank
feel for you. I really feel for you.
you.
Um, I I would hope that people can hear this, and like, if this has happened to them, that I kind of hope that people will start talking about something like this. And I hope that,
Yeah, of course.
yeah,
We need
I,
to talk. We need to speak out. It's not like we're going to go to prison or anything. I mean, I got my Oscars.
I mean,
It's like
your work is
yeah,
Oscar award
it's
winning.
my work, and to me, I feel like I've. It's not only my work on this movie; it's my work for the past 30 years.
100%.
Okay, this is
100%.
how I take it.
Yeah, it's important. It's very important. Um, So we're gonna release this episode, and then I would love to hear from other people in our audience, their opinions, and perhaps maybe amplify what exactly has happened. I know that you're not asking for that, but I am asking for that because I know you don't. You're handling this with a lot of grace, but in sharing
Thank
your
you.
story,
Thank you.
I would encourage people to really share what has happened because
Thank you so
it's
much,
important.
Tiffany. Thank
Of
you.
course, of course. Thank you so much, Fred.
Thank you. Okay.
Look Behind the Look is a Vinyl Foot production, written by me, your host, Tiffany Bartok, produced by Jace Bartok, edited by Mugresh Thakor. If you're interested in learning more, find our video version on the YouTube channel, Look Behind the Look Podcast. There you can see rare photos and clips from our guests. And please follow us on Twitter at LookBehindPod and Instagram at LookBehindTheLook. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. And tell your friends and spread the word. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or any podcatcher of your choice. Thanks for listening to Look Behind the Look.